The Kremlin then is showing emphatically that it still has the ability to up the pain level. But as to the point of that, when Ukrainians breathe defiance, well, that goes to the heart of the strategies being employed by the two sides. This morning in Kiev, and a power plant is hit. Moments later, the second cruise missile passes overhead. As Ukraine was waking up, dozens of missiles were finding their targets across the country. At Kiev University, a young student had a close escape. The Ukrainian answer to this morning's blitz, pretty much without exception, has been one of defiance. But for Vladimir Putin, smarting after Saturday's attack on the Kerch Bridge, today's bombardment of Ukrainian cities was less about trying to change minds there, more about reasserting his ability to raise the pain and appear in command of the situation. Today he promised to defend Russia with all the means at his disposal.
If attempts to carry out terrorist attacks on our territory continue, Russia's responses will be severe and in scale will respond to the level of threats to the Russian Federation. No one should have any doubts about this.
With these strikes delivered today, the Russian leader has tried to tell the world that he won't accept defeat in Ukraine and has no qualms about targeting civilian infrastructure, regardless of the human cost.
From the start, he's been saying that, look, Russia is a superpower, nuclear superpower. It has greater power, greater ability than Ukraine. Ukraine has been supported by the West, but Russia still has the capacity to basically take this to the final mile and still win this conflict, simply because it has the capability for a long, drawn-out effort.
But after a series of setbacks recently on the battlefield, Russia's aims appear now to be set around not losing rather than winning, trying to lock in territorial gains and freeze the conflict. And to do that, their strategy now extends to trying to threaten Ukrainians with privations this winter.
First of all, we knew that Russians will be attacking our heating and energy stations, and have been talking about it with our partners, I think, in June. So what is happening right now is not news for us. The issue is that we were unable to prepare for it because we didn't have enough of the Air Force protection systems. And still on the 8th month of war, we did not get the fighter jets that we needed to protect ourselves from the attack. But what is done. And right now we'll have to prepare to a very cold winter without enough of the infrastructure to support Ukrainians in this matter.
So if Ukrainians who gathered in tube stations during today's bombardment maintain their spirit and willingness to fight on, Vladimir Putin may find himself following his recent threats to their logical conclusion.
Ultimately, what the message that Putin is trying to project is that Russia is willing to go all the way, including the use of nuclear weapons, to win this conflict. Now, we might actually say that this is a form of a bluff on his part, although he has been saying that he is not bluffing, but that's, of course, what you would say if you were bluffing, right?
So today's bombardment marks one more turn on the dial of escalation and another moment of grief and bitterness that will make finding a way to stop this even harder.